All right. Well, namaste to everybody. I hope you guys are very having a very good journey. Hopefully, you're growing a lot and seeing things manifest in your life. I hope that some of these things you're putting into play in your life, like that, uh, emotions or frequency, and because they're frequency, you also have the capacity to release them and then to set new frequencies, which for everybody has a base frequency. That is the place they function at. And sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, but they're yours and they're unique to you, and you create them. And so you get the opportunity to really create. We truly are creators. I see that, and there's been many things said. We don't understand. We think that a creator is something we either intentionally or unintentionally are creators, but we're all creating all the time. Some people do most of their creation unintentionally. That is to say, they have behaviors and attitudes and thoughts, and just so you know, your thoughts are actually more powerful than your words and behaviors are. It's what you don't say that destroys you more than what you do say, and we're going to see that actually in the scriptures today. We're looking at the authoritative discourse. There's a lot of back for this. I hope that you have at this point come to understand how blessed you are simply getting to hear this. Those that do hear it internally, it will totally bless you. But we find today that the words given to us kind of explain, and you hopefully will be able to take that and you will be able to see yourself. Everything is about what we are already. We're not trying to be. I shared on Wednesday night, that at some level you have to first have an awakening. And in reality to that, there are many awakenings inside of that awakening, but it seems that we have limiting steps because of of who we are internally as a human, not as a spirit. But that oftentimes we have to awaken and go through a remembering, and then we go through an acceptance, and then we go through a doing something with it. And at whatever point you choose to stop moving forward is where you're hung. And so if you have 25 of those that you need to go through in your life and you never make it past the first one, then you're just hung there. You just keep cycling, you keep circling, you keep looping, you keep seeing the same things manifest, and that becomes your vision of what the world is. And it really, if you haven't recognized it, it is very true, and we're all doing it. Just some people are not aware of that cycle first off, and then that they have the power to break out of that as well, which is really the beautiful part of Gnosticism, the beautiful part of Gnosis, which Gnosis, you'll hear that more and more, is divine knowledge. It's the knowledge that transcends human minds, and it's what Yahusha came to teach humanity was Gnosis. So the authoritative discourse, there's going to be lots of here's and there's, but there's a lot of pieces in here of things that I've been sharing with you guys. Absolutely amazing book. If you listen and you do hear, and you are one of those people, it will be a huge blessing to you on a day-to-day basis. That you, once again, all of these things are meant to present different perspectives to us of what it is that we can be, but also what it is that we are if we're not. And many people don't like that. It's like the whole concept that you watch people and they behave and get offended if you tell them the truth, and yet the only thing that will ever free you is the truth. And so, as has been said, I've said many times, if the truth offends you, you haven't looked inside yourself. And so it's quite funny because the acceptance that I was speaking about on Wednesday night brings to an end, whether you be in a succession of those or whether you are maybe a little further along and you're actually coming to grips with greater truths. Those acceptances are the gateway, one of the gateways that take you to the step, which I would like to term as practicality. That is to say, all of this is wonderful and is of no value to you if you're not serious enough to begin to apply it on yourself. And so I watch a lot of people, and they're hung up in their Christian nonsense, And they think that because they learn something, then they go away and they, they say words or they do things and they think that somehow they're being spiritual. But this really is about us taking and applying. Okay, so if you wanted to get out, you're going to find her version of several things that I've said today is eerily close to what I've been telling people, and I promise you, a lot of those people don't believe it. They don't want to hear it because it makes them guilty of being who they are, not who they could be. And it's not the who you are is only for the purpose of getting rid of it. I was blessed to read this past week, Albert Einstein, one of the greatest minds that has existed, and he said it is only when a person loses their self that they can ever grow. And so, you've spent all your life trying to maintain who you are. You have all of these horrible thought processes that are inside of your mind that you think are wonderful. And it's only when you begin to see that they're not and then begin to release them that your life begins to change. Many people, it is noted amongst psychologists as well as mystic teachers, it is noted that a large quantity of people will go through these cycles 40, 50, 60 years in a lifetime and still never come to the revelation. Well, I've shared with you that the purpose of karma is actually a trick to make you guilty so that they can force you to come back in again. And just for a hidden note that you may not have gotten, you're never going to fix the karma problem. It's non-existent. How can you fix what's not there? You only accept their lies. And so I watch a lot of spiritual people, and they're all saying the same words that were being said a year ago about karma and all of that. And I don't say there's not a form of karma, but karma, as it's been presented to the masses, is actually the karma of the archons, and you're living in it. You think it's real, and it is at pieces. That is to say, all lie has a little truth to it, and all truth has a little lie to it. And so, authoritative discourse. She starts out the beginning of this. There's a little bit. It's pretty well preserved through the rest of the document, but there are a few places in the lacuna at the front of it, which would be described as maybe being the damage, the words that are missing, or the ink that was faded, or the moth that got in there and ate a series of words and stuff. It is important that we try to use our minds, but on the other side, it really doesn't destroy all the document that we do have, and some people, get lost in that, and please don't let yourself get hung up in that trap, because it is a trap. And so she starts out with, in heaven and in him, anyone appears, the hidden heavens appear, and before the invisible, ineffable worlds became visible. Makes absolutely no sense. But it really does make sense, because it's very clear who she's talking about. She's talking about Source. The one that is unexplainable, the one that has no name, the one that has no being, the one that has no body, the one that has no... there is nothing about Source that you can categorize. And many of you are probably still doing it. You still, because your mind is in that hold, and I think all of us have lived there long enough. I do it. I stop. It's not so much that I repent. I just recognize it. I view it. I let it go, and I move on, and I thank the universe for all that has been done to me. It really is quite amazing when you come to the understanding. The universe loves all people. It's not the universe's love, but the universe has rules that you don't know anything about. And just because you want something bad, or just because you pray hard, or just because you think you should deserve it, it does nothing for causing how the universe functions to function. And that's why all of your prayers that you prayed for 60 years have never availed anything. And they're not going to avail anything, because you're praying to an unknown God. The one that Paul was talking about when he talked to the people in Caesarea, I think it was, and they had a tomb to the unknown God. And he's like, yeah, that's the one you serve. So the ineffable worlds that became visible, the unexplainable worlds that became visible. And so she says, then from these came the invisible soul of of righteousness. And so I'm really watching a lot of things. It's really kind of saddening because all of the spirituality people who never cared enough to try to learn what the Christian message was, it's almost like in some ways some of those are going to be double hamstringed because their minds don't register. I've had enough conversations with people who were not brought up in belief, and many spiritualists tell them that they're better off because they don't have to unlearn. And I kindly submit that is certainly a thought, but it's not necessarily the right thought. The problem is that if you don't have some basis in something to become an observer of, then you'll never see the nuances. That's why many people don't see the things that I see. I was an observer, I was a studier of the Bible so that I could know the truth more even than caring about sharing it with people, because my purpose is to learn what truth is. It's always been what my purpose was. And so she says, from these came the invisible soul of righteousness. Quite strange that we have Gnostics that are going to use all the same words that Christianity uses, but the context, direction, placement, and purpose is totally at odds with what they use those words for. And that, for some of you that are Christians, you might get a little confused sometimes because the words seem so similar, and they are. It's not that the words aren't similar, it's the context, connotation, application of those words. You know, like I've said in the past, many people that I've talked to in spirituality, they're about like the Baptist people that I knew, that once saved, always saved. And so the concept there is that there's no price to pay for anything. And if you believe that, I'm sorrowful for you, but you're going to find out through the rest of the course of everything that's happening in the world, you're going to find out there is a price to pay for the thoughts and decisions and choices that you make. And if you don't grab that, then it'll keep manifesting on you. And if you do grab it, then you'll be able to observe it and overcome it. And so from these came the invisible soul of righteousness, one member with them, one body with them, one spirit with them, whether she is coming down or is in the realm of fullness. Talking Sophia here, the body of righteousness, whether she came down or whether she went back to the heavens. And Sophia came and was. And so that's why Yeshua had such a significance for Sophia, as well as mother, you know. And so she says, one member with them, one body with them, one spirit with them. Whether she is coming down or is in the realm of fullness, she is not apart from them. And here's the really sad thing about these things. Most of the Gnostic concepts, though most deem them to be hard, they're actually realities about that there is not now, nor has there ever been, any separation between source and you. And many of you have that. It's as if you think that somehow you're not doing anything, and it's only when you begin to accept the reality that there is nothing for you to do except look inside and gain mastery of your flesh, mind, self. And that's the one thing most people will never do, which is so horrible because it's already here. It's not inside you, it is you. And so, but you don't know it and you can't see it. And she talks about that here in a minute. And so, whether she is coming down or whether she is in the realm of fullness, she is not apart from them. But they see her and she looks at them through the invisible word, gnosis. The word is like food and medicine for the soul. Secretly, her bridegroom obtained the word. He held it he held it to her mouth to make her eat it like food. He applied it to her eyes like medicine to make her see with her mind. Okay? To make her see with her mind. The concept yet again is becoming pulsing in of the mind, and I watch constantly, my granddaughter is like me in that way. She is a observer. She watches everything, every facial expression, every behavior that people make. She watches those things and she categorizes them in her mind. And so we have this concept. He applied it to her eyes like medicine to make her see with her mind. So we get that there's a metaphoric play on this word of applying it to her eyes, because really the eyes that are being just talked about here, friends, are not your physical eyes. They're the eyes by which you see reality in your mind. And I hate this because I will talk today and there will be 50 different people with 50 different messages, and I taught none of those. I hear people say words. I ask questions and people say words, and I go, well, you didn't understand anything I said. And I used to tell them that, and since then it's just not worth the effort for me to cause dissonance in myself to fight with people about truth. If you didn't hear it, you didn't hear it. Maybe you're not capable. Maybe the universe doesn't want you to, but that you obviously are not at a place where conversing is at a compatico. And so it's really difficult to speak to someone who thinks they know what you're saying, and yet they have no knowledge of what you're saying, and they prove that by what comes out of them. And so secretly, her bridegroom attained the word, the gnosis. He held it to her mouth to make her eat it like food. So he did put it in front of her. And this is also, there's a little bit of a picture of us in this, and how we are to also function. If we are light, and we are, and if we are consciousness, and we are, and if we all are consciousness, then anything that you read here, you're just void of understanding, or you are ignorant to it. Now, I learned something that's going to be quite shocking, because there are people that get the truth presented to them, and they hear the word, and then they return to ignorance. That's something that many people are telling people are not true, but I really do fear there's a reason why I've gone through this whole book with y'all, and it's because I want you to see there are many channelers out there that are channeling about the archons, and yet they don't know who the archons are. And many of you are scared to death of this concept still of archons, and it baffles your mind, and it should not. There is something going on in you if the archons baffle you, okay? But there's just a struggle that creeps out of this, and so you'll see here in a minute. So he held it to her mouth to make her eat it like food. He applied it to her eyes. We now have food in medicine. We have food in seeing. And he applied it to her eyes like medicine to make her see with her mind and perceive those who are kin to her. Think about that a minute. I've said it in the past, and for some of you it's going to be real long. A lot of people have and are going to struggle over people that they deem to be kin to them, and because of that, because there's a human connection, whether it be spiritually human or whether it just is simply by blood or whatever connection goes on, and many people are being drugged back out of truth that they are receiving because people that they deem to be a soul connection, that is to say, brother, sister, mother, father. And that's why Yahusha, just so you know, here's an understanding about another scripture in the Bible. He says, except a man hate his mother and father, he has no place in me. You guys, he wasn't playing there. And I know that I'm on the intense end of things, but I have to tell you that he told us the total truth. You just have no knowledge of what the truth is in many cases, especially if you were brought up in Christianity, because you have paradigms that are associated with scriptures that are nothing but lies. And so he applied it to her eyes like medicine to make her see with her mind and perceive those who are kin to her and learn about her root. And so in our situation, that would be for me to learn about who I am. See, all of this nonsense at many levels, that this is just going to poof all of a sudden and you're going to be this great, enlightened, intelligent, all-powerful, all-healing God is another corruption that isn't out of Christianity. It's on the other side. It's the archons feeding humanity a lie. The Christian lie is dying. They're starting a new lie, and it's called spirituality. You don't have to be spiritual if you are spiritual. It's not something you do, it's something that you are. And there's a huge difference between those two. Doing something that has been told to you is just simply being under the prison of authority. That's why this is an authoritative discourse. This trumps everything that you believe. And to learn about her root, that she may be able to hold on to the branch from which she has come. And of course, we know that you are the branches, and I am the root. We know that concept once again out of the book of John. All of these things are referring to the right pieces of the Bible. That's why you hear some of it over and over again, and then you hear other parts of the Bible you don't ever hear a word of, because it wasn't true. It wasn't in their circles. That was all concocted after Yeshua was dead by 200 years. And that she may be able to hold on to the branch from which she has come and receive what is hers and renounce matter. And I wanted to take on those two words for a minute. It is absolutely, I look now with how Yeshua lived, and I understand that really is the path and the pattern. You must renounce matter. If everything matters to you is physical things, then you are in the trap, and you will stay in the trap, probably for quite some time if you're still at that point. And so the soul is like a child amongst stepchildren. When a man marries a woman who already has children, the natural children of the man conceived from his semen call the children of the woman our siblings. Similarly, when the spiritual soul was cast into a body, and that's something that you will get a greater picture of how this thing works. And there's some pieces here that you are probably, I certainly have been probably, I'm not any longer, but I have been ignorant to the reality, and it is not at many levels the picture that we go and we sit with the archons and we smoke weed and it's all peaceful and wonderful and enlightening, and all of a sudden we then make a decision who we're going to pick and who we're going to sell. So please, so you understand, this all predates 90% of the Vedic and the Buddhistic teachings that went on. Not only that, they were in the presence of the true ascended master, who was Yeshua. And so it causes a little bit of conflicts. And so he says, when the spiritual soul was cast into a body. So when you hear people say that there are people who are walking around that are soulless, all that simply means is the whole process continued as it always does. A man had sex with a woman. He fertilized an egg with semen. A child was conceived. A human physical matter body was created, and it has zero essence of source. And so she begins immediately to deal with this, because it is much bigger than most people know. And you hear lots of spiritualists saying everybody. We use that term in the wrong context in many situations, because about these spiritual things, there isn't everybody. There's only those that are. And that's kind of a huge step. But she says, when the spiritual soul was cast into a body. So it wasn't your body. My son looks like me. My grandson looks like me. All of those traits are very, very predictable according to the flesh. That the flesh is not what the important part is. And so there are humans that carry those traits. Maybe you have someone in your family that just is off the end and they never can find their way. It's probably because when their body was fertilized and put inside of a woman, there was no soul cast into her. And so when the spiritual soul was cast into a body, it became a sibling to lust, hatred, and envy. So they don't tell you that when they're talking about the reincarnation, and when they're telling you about the making the choices and your soul. In fact, most of the people that I've listened to in the course of the last 2 years know nothing about what it is that I'm telling you. I've listened to many channelers that are talking direct words of archons, and they have no knowledge of who the archons even are. And if you told them, they probably wouldn't believe it. That's why I've said to you in the past, be careful, because not all spirit guides, they are spirit, but they're not guides from source. Okay? And if you continue to keep jumping back to the old paradigm, then you're just going to stay hung in the rat race. And so when the spiritual soul was cast into a body, it became a sibling to lust, hatred, and envy. So those are 3 things you will never hear spiritualists tell you that you inherited by being placed in a specific human body. You inherited those. They're not, might be, every soul that is put into a human body inherits those things. The job is for us to remember what we are and to disown those traits. And so that is to material souls. So there is a blending of us when our soul is put into a human body. That's why at some levels I have to make the outside, which isn't like the inside, okay? That's why Yeshua used that metaphor. It's perfect, it's exact, it's true, and it's right. It is your responsibility to first remember who you are and then to change yourself in the physical manifestation into compatico with the spiritual truth that exists in you. That's the plan. And so the body came from lust, and lust came from material substance. I know we didn't get to finish Helena because we would have needed 5 years and most people wouldn't have understood what she was saying anyways, but Albert Einstein sure did, and I certainly do. Friends, the material world is not your friend. The material world is here to hold you. It is the hooks, it is the cords that all of these people are trying to loose you from. They're not even always aware, the ones that I've listened to are not aware that the hooks and chains they keep talking about is your material self. So the one that sits in the chair and says, I ain't sure that I believe all of this stuff, those are the hooks and chains with which you are held in bondage. And so she gives us a little explanation. That is why the soul became a sibling to them. Is because of what happens to us when we enter into a material physical body. We receive the traits and attributes of that material physical body. That's why we become stepchildren or part of that same family lineage. So you can actually say that the family lineage of your humanity is one thing, and you must loose yourself from that. I said that prophetically with no knowledge of what I was saying until now, but what I said 6 months ago to some people is absolutely true. And so yet they are stepchildren. They're unable to inherit from the male, but they will inherit from their mother alone. When the soul wishes to inherit along with the stepchildren, so that was the original plan. Now there is a contingency plan which you can choose of your own free will. When the soul wishes to inherit along with the stepchildren, for the possessions of the stepchildren are exalted passions. we live in a society, and this is functioning even amongst light people who are material, not spiritual. And they are stepchildren. The stepchildren are exalted passions. Listen to all the things which most of you have lived your whole life trying to attain. Life's pleasures, hateful jealousies, boastful expressions, ego, foolish experiences. We live in a society where everybody wants to go do these weird and absurd, death-defying things, and somehow that's a turn-on. Just so you know whether you like it or don't, because if you're one of those, you don't like it. But the reality of it is all of those things are the very things that will keep you separated, and you'll never find who you are as long as you stay tied to that. That's why there's people that'll hear me and it won't change them. Because there is no change except you look inside of yourself, you recognize what the truth is and what the truth isn't, and you begin the journey of changing and disposing of that character nature that exists in you. And until you do that, or if you choose not to do that, determines everything for an eternity. And so, all of the things that are exalted by our society, life's pleasures, hateful jealousies, boastful expressions, ego and pride, both of those are all just material things that you have in your life, and you choose to hold on to them. You hold on to your ego so you don't lose yourself, because you have no knowledge whatsoever of who yourself even is. And I'm talking people that have been 20 years in the spiritual movement that are in this shape today. Foolish experiences. Well, I just wanted to go experience it, you know, and I hate to say this because I'm hearing spiritual people that are saying, well, we're here for an experience. That is truth. But what we're not here is to see how stupid things we can do and get away with. The experiences are supposed to be positive, spiritual, enlightened, light experiences. Like, how do you love people? How do you heal people? How do you function in the light realm? It was never intended or even conceived that you would somehow tie this pleasurable stuff, material stuff, to your spirit life. And if you read the true people that knew the truth that I'm sharing with you today, you will find Helena Blavatsky was a huge proponent of you must lose your materialistic belief system. Now, I don't know whether she read the Nag Hammadi because she was dead before the Nag Hammadi was found, but I guarantee you she knew exactly what was in this book. And so, reproachful words, judgment, it's becoming very huge. All of us have been guilty of it. We were taught in Christianity not to judge, but we judge. In fact, we were taught to judge. You don't this and you don't that. That's why right now still it's functioning in people when they say, well, I'm going to run every time somebody comes around and we don't resonate together. That simply means that you have no knowledge of who you are as light and that your light is stronger than them, because most of the time when those I see now, which has been a paradigm shift, most of the time those bad situations were actually put there for you to be the light that conquered it. And you have no knowledge of being light, neither do you have any desire to play light, to work light, to be light, to expose light, to show light. And you can't show it if you keep running from the dark every time you don't like what they say. It's bull. It's not true. That's not what we were put here for, friends. It's so we can run every time somebody doesn't resonate with us. And so, if a soul who is ignorant, this is going to get heavy. If a soul who is ignorant, we're not talking about the flesh, so in your mind, if you can, cut off. Now the material is not even right in this second, is not even of importance. We're not talking about your mind. We're not talking about your flesh. We're not talking about your pleasures. We're not talking about any of that. We are talking about a soul that has been placed inside of someone, and this soul makes a decision. This is not the only place that I've heard very gifted spiritual people share this truth. Many souls that are light are going to make decisions against the light. So if you think that you're exempt from this, you are very naive to reality. So if a soul who is ignorant chooses a spirit of prostitution, once again, a soul who is ignorant, you've been told, and you're being told all over the internet, YouTube is full of this crap, how you're a soul and there's no way you can be ignorant. And obviously, there's a lot of people that existed before these guys did that would have argued with them. If a soul who is ignorant chooses a spirit of prostitution, once again, it wasn't put on you. You're ignorant because you chose it. He casts her out and throws her into a brothel. He has left her to corruption because she has abandoned modesty. And I know some of you don't like it, but we live in the most, if I would say this, the most loose society that exists. There is no modesty. It actually is an example to those who are light. Because I promise you right now, those who are light heard my words. Death and life are placed before everyone. Life and death is in the tongue, and every one of us get to experience the choice. Listen to this. People choose for themselves which of these two they want. So everything that you've been hearing about you are creating your life is absolutely true. Yeshua talked about it when he said, life and death is in your tongue, because what comes out of your mouth is a picture of what's inside of you. Now you will find your thoughts predate that, and that there is a price for you as an individual to pay based on your thoughts. It's only the exposition to the external comes through your words and your actions and your behaviors. But it doesn't mean there's no price to pay for thoughts that you have in your mind. Death and life are placed before everyone, and people choose for themselves which of these two they want. And whether you're ignorant to that or not, if you're sitting here today and you've been hearing me this whole time and you go, well, I just still don't think I'm the creator, it's okay. It doesn't really matter, because you are already making those decisions, whether you recognize it, whether you know it or not. They don't stop just because you're ignorant of it. You've been doing it your whole life. That's why your life is what it is. It's why you've done all the things you've done, whether good or bad, is about who you are inside. And so you get to choose which of the two that you want. It's your choice. You're a creator. You are a sovereign. What we maybe haven't quite known, we certainly haven't figured out how to function in the manner in which we can, and we certainly don't even understand how powerful or huge that is. He says that soul will fall into drinking too much wine in a corrupt matter, because wine corrupts. Just so you know, that scripture was put into the Bible. It's out of Gnostic teaching. The soul forgets her siblings and her father, and sensual pleasures and sweet things deceive her. That's why you see so many people that live massively carnal lives, and they can't ever find their way out of it. Usually those lives are full of suffering. Usually those lives are full of unrestfulness and unpeacefulness. Doesn't matter whether the person is rich or poor, because just so you know, rich and poverty in the spirit realm has nothing to do with what you would interpret it for the material realm. Many people that have lots of things are in poverty. So you will fall into drinking too much wine in a corrupt manner. Wine corrupts. The soul forgets her siblings and her father, and sensual pleasures and sweet things deceive her. She has abandoned knowledge. So to abandon something, you must by virtue then have experienced it. So at some point, who's being talked about, someone like myself told them the truth, and yet they still would not accept it. They abandoned it. And has fallen into the life of an animal. And if you look around our society and you wonder why people are defacing their flesh and all of this stuff, they're all searching for some external thing to fulfill something that's inside of them. And unfortunately, the Bible also talks about this. It says there was coming a time in history when people would pierce themselves through with many sorrows. Those pictures that you see that get put on people are pictures of the sorrow that exists inside of them. That's why you can walk by somebody who is very heavily tattooed and the hair stands up on your head or the hair on your skin stands up. It's an external picture they have painted for you to show the disconnection that's inside of them. And so she has abandoned knowledge and has fallen into the life of an animal, a person devoid of sense. Wow. Do you understand how much opportunity you're receiving right now in these writings to change your perception every single day with every single person you will ever encounter? I actually used to think it was hard to tell the spirit from the not, and I'm finding out that was just simply because I did not have knowledge. I lacked knowledge, but the understanding is coming, and it's really not difficult to understand who people are. That's why we're told by many spiritualists, you must look at who a person is, not just the things that they're doing. Who is this person inside? And so she had abandoned knowledge and has fallen into the life of an animal. A person devoid of sense lives like a beast, not knowing what one should say or what one should not say. So the living in the beast then has to do with what comes out of you that gets presented to the world. Beast-like people that are like that person hear their words as good, and spiritual people hear it and they cringe inside because of the ignorance that just got blasted out into the world, out of your mouth. And so, because they don't know what they should say or what they shouldn't say. You have no clue how many people I've had that have been with me all the way back to the church, and they would ask a question and I would pose a question so that they would have to answer me with a truth that I had already shared with them, and they were totally void of it. I used to really struggle a lot about that, and I don't struggle so much. It's just who they are. They're not capable. And so the gentle child inherits with joy from the father. So I want you to see, this child inherits from the father. The child needs do nothing except be who they are to be a recipient of that which the fathers have. And there are people, very gifted people now, who are sharing this message also. And so I would love to sow it to whoever out there is receptive to be able to hear it. Anyone who has been searching for spirituality is trying to do something to get something. And you will live in that cycle the rest of your life and die and come back in. And maybe you'll be blessed enough for someone else to be put in front of you and tell you yet again the truth. But probably you will go through the same situation over and over again. Okay? I don't know what it is that connects in the human soul with the whole system, how it functions, that people get out. I'd love to give you that answer, but I don't know the answer. I don't know what trigger can you give to someone so that when they come back in, they can arrive at earlier consciousness so they have an opportunity. I don't know how Source does what Source does, but the people that he deems worthy of awakening will awaken, and the ones that don't will continue in the cycle. And so the gentle child inherits with joy from the father. What a beautiful picture. Friends, you didn't do anything to become the soul you are. You're just simply an inheritant of the Father. And so we're trying to do things to become enlightened, and I'm finding out that it's a joke, it's a waste of time, it's another materialistic concept trying to explain spiritual things. In fact, I've now come to the understanding that I am light. I don't have to do anything to become that. I meditate because I want quiet and stillness, and I want to hear the voice of the higher self, God, inside of me. I want to hear that wisdom. I want to hear that knowledge. I want to use it in my life. I want to live the life that is mine and has always been mine. But I don't have to do anything to receive that, except accept that it is. And if you're hearing what my words are, you're way steps ahead of most people who hear them and have no clue. The gentle child inherits with joy from the Father. So this inheritance can it require work and still be joy? Of course it can. In fact, if you're carnal, materially minded, hearing that and anything that ties to work probably puts inside of you a negative slant, because you've been running your whole life trying not to work. It's just a statement that's true. And if that's you, you won't understand the joy that comes from doing the right work. And so the gentle child inherits with joy from the Father. Doesn't buy it, doesn't do anything for it, doesn't act a certain way, doesn't do anything. He just recognizes that he is, and that it is his Father's joy for him to inherit consciousness. And when you do that, everything inside of you begins to shift. And the Father rejoices over his child. I say it all the time. I do things and I go, I'm so sorry, Father. And then I go, oh, I'm sorry. Universe, I recognize my failings. And I let it go and I go on with it. And it's really funny how little it is. And as I practice and go more, it will affect my frequency. But if you can tie together everything that I'm saying, and it does you no good, it's useless to you if you don't understand that it's your job to guard your frequency. Guarding your frequency doesn't mean you run every time somebody disagrees with you. It doesn't mean that you run every time somebody says something or every time you get offended, because that's material, that's carnal. Offense is one of the greatest tools that destroys spiritual people. Even if you don't say anything about it, doesn't fix the problem. Source reads what you are inside. Sorry, friends, but that's the reality. You can get offended and keep your mouth shut and your frequency just bottomed. And so, the gentle child inherits with joy from the Father. It's not a bad thing. It's only positive. It is joy. I am my Father's child, and my Father is mine. That I sing that in many different ways inside constantly. Not because I'm perfect, not because I'm morally everything, none of those things that I was told I needed to be in Christianity, simply because I accept that I am. And when you, as long as you continue to resist that acceptance, for whatever reason, for some it's just that they don't believe it's true. Okay, if you don't, but understand that choice has a negative effect to it. And so the gentle child inherits with joy from the Father, and I love this part more than the first part, although I love the first part, and that is that the Father rejoices when I say those things. That's why he says to me, you're going to be a light that I can see in this world. Well, maybe he hasn't said that to you because you're not me. But I have a place and a purpose, and Source knows me. And Source is pleased with me. That's a huge revelation. It helps you get through a lot of really bad times when it seems like the world hates you. And I've lived most of my life believing that. And so, because everyone praises the Father on account of the child. And the child also looks for a way to duplicate what was received, which is the whole concept of Yeshua teaching that you must go into the dark for your light to shine. That's the duplication, but it's not forcing people to do that. It's not giving them 10 commandments that you're going to go to hell and be punished by the devil forever if you don't do these things. That's one of the huge distinctions that I find out. It actually comes out of true love for your source when you want to share with other souls. You will very quickly learn how to quickly shut your mouth when you're talking to somebody, because you acknowledge, you observe the dissonance that begins to creep up, and whether that dissonance be in you or whether you're conscious and mindful and you see the dissonance that's happening in someone else. Sometimes it's just simply, you don't deserve my truth, and you stop. I'm not interested in trying to make you do something. You'll choose it or you won't. That's how it works. I'm not going to cry if you don't, and I'm not going to cry if you do. So the stepchild, their lusts cannot mix with sobriety. That's why in the Bible you are told that we are to be mindful. We are told to be very conscious. We are told to be sober, not as fools, discerning the times, for the days are evil. Those are all concepts that tie directly with this. And when you open your mind, and I'm not talking that it's going to send you to hell if you smoke a joint, and I'm not talking about that you're going to go to hell if you drink a beer, but I guarantee you exactly what the Bible was talking about. The evils of alcohol will affect you. There are lots of people who say on one day that they're a spirit being and go sit in the bar and listen to every, according to this verbiage, every bottom rung human that exists, and they absorb that, and yet you let a spiritualist come along and tell them something, and they run like a scalded ape, but they'll sit in a bar and they'll suck in that negativity like it's wine. Good luck. Hope you hang around with them more, because they're just going to destroy you. It didn't have to happen, but you chose for it to happen. Knock yourself out. So, listen at this. An enlightened child's lust cannot mix with crookedness. If you are more at home around people who are that, you are that. You're still lying to yourself. You haven't spent any time looking inside of yourself. But if that's where you feel like home is, you are home. Yeshua went to be a light in the darkness when he sat with the drunkards and the sinners. He wasn't there to have beers with them and talk about how bad their 5, 6, 8, 9 situations they're encountering, how horrible they are. Okay? Because we all have those. Every one of us, whether we are spirit or whether we are not spirit, and I mean by that light or not light, every one of us have bad situations in our life. People, work, situations that we encounter, the grocery store, some person who just doesn't happen to like you, you're driving too slow, and they drive by you and shoot you the finger, and you then have to deal with your frequency and your emotions, and I mean on and on and on and on. So it appears that Yeshua was teaching us that there is a way to handle these things, and we are supposed to be the victors and the conquerors. We are the head and not the tail. Have you ever seen the tail run away from a head? And so if you are running, then you are not the head. You are not the light. We're supposed to be really strong in a very kind and loving way. It may seem to many people, especially since we've all been, to the most part, we've all been raised up as flesh and we've all been living in flesh. And I don't think that most of us, I don't think that I've certainly arrived where I want to be as far as walking in the truth of the knowledge of how powerful I am, because I'm infinitely more powerful than I have a clue of. I know that. I do know it's there. I just haven't had enough time to figure out how to access it like I want. And so the stepchildren, their lusts cannot mix with sobriety. You could say this 1,000 ways. Birds of a feather flock together. Who you hang out with is who you are. And you could go on and on and on with the metaphors, and all of them are true. So, if a lustful thought arises in a person who is a virgin, that person already has been contaminated. So why is it so important that we be very, 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 very conscious of who we let around us and what words we let come into our ears? Because coming into our ears, if it enters our spiritual ears, we then have to deal with it. It's not that you're not stronger. And probably maybe hundreds of times a day we do that, and we conquer those things without any knowledge of it. It's not the ones that we conquer that hurt us, friends. Those make us stronger. It's the ones we don't conquer. It's the ones that we're unconscious about that got inside of us, and you find yourself 2 days later and you're saying words that don't even come from you. And they are powerful. Whether you recognize it or not, they are powerful. So, if a lustful thought, we know now that we're still hanging in the same level. We're still talking about the mind, and now we're talking about thoughts. If a lustful thought arises in a person who is a virgin, that's a person of light. And that person already has been contaminated. The sword of appetite cannot mix with moderation. So you got a friend, he's wild or whatever, and you work with him and he says, hey man, come over to the bar with us and hang out. And you go, well, and so 6 months later, all of a sudden you find yourself in the bar and you're inundated by this negativity, and before it's over with, you're walking out thinking about the barmaid's ass and how tight the pants she was wearing were. And friends, they got you. And it goes on every day. This is like wheat that is mixed with chaff. For if chaff is mixed with wheat, it is not the chaff that is contaminated. Those people are already contaminated. You, by being there and being light, did not contaminate them. They, by being there and not being light, contaminated you. So that would be the simplest form to me to say, well, I guess I need to be a lot more careful about who I let in my aura. And so since they are mixed together, no one will buy the contaminated wheat. So in other words, the concept is if you're a spirit being and you find yourself in that place, then you're useless. It's like a salt that has no savor. They will coax the dealer and they will say, give us this chaff, for they see the wheat mixed with it. Then they will take the chaff and they throw it out with the rest of the chaff, and that chaff will become mixed with all other material things. Wow. Our lives are full of this stuff, folks. Pure seed is kept in storehouses that are secure. That is your heart. We now have discussed all of these things. So she's to the end. She's done. She's told you all the great things that will protect you. She's told you for you to self-diagnose which and what you are, and then if you are, how to fix it. And so the Father establishes a contest in the world. Before anything was, the Father alone existed. Before the worlds and the heavens appeared, and the world on earth, and the principalities or authorities or powers appeared, the eons appeared, and they produced others. We know that's true. I've already taken you through the secret book of John, how all of the beginning of everything was. Before there was anything, there were aeons, and there were us. We are part of the aeon. And before anything was, the Father alone existed. Notice that there's really at this sentence, the Father is the concept. Before the worlds and the heavens appeared, or the world on earth, or principalities, or authorities, or powers appeared, and they produced others. Nothing came to be without the Father's will. So that's why you hear very gifted speakers. Eckhart Tolle is one of them, and I'm finding it's quite strange. I know it is from source, opening my perception, but it's amazing to me that all of the gifted people that are teaching spiritual truths now are all teaching the same thing. It is impossible for you to ever go further with source unless you look at yourself, and unless you accept the hard, difficult things in life is school for you, teachings for you. That the universe does those hard things to us so that we can learn how to overcome. And so, just so you know, guys, you can take it for what it's worth to you, but nothing came to be without the Father's will, both good and bad. Yeah, that's contrary to what you've been told in Christianity, but that, friend, is the truth. Bad is needed just as much as good is. The Father wished to reveal his wealth and his glory, so he established a great contest in this world. He wanted to make the contestants come up and leave behind what is of the created world. So dig this. All of the thing everybody's talking about ascension, when you hear gifted speakers say that it's all a game, it is. It's all a contest. Which out of all of the 7 billion on this earth right now, which of them will actually make it to the monad? That's the game. You either will or you won't. You'll either do the things necessary, or you'll argue, or you will resist, or you will say they're not true, or you won't have any desire. And all of the things one's not better than the other, one's not bad than the other. It just simply means that you won't end up being a contestant. It's that simple. It's really quite simple. I choose to be a contestant. It's an active choice I have to make, and I choose it. The Father wished to reveal his wealth and his glory, so he established a great contest in this world. He wanted to make the contestants come up and leave behind what is of the created world. What have I been talking about? I've been talking about shadow work for how many years? You, looking at you and being honest for the first time in your life about what you really are. And most still aren't embracing that very well. And I don't mean just here. I'm talking about in general as the world, 7 billion strong. And he wanted to make the contestants come up and leave behind what is of the created world. Well, you have freedom of will to do that. All it is actually an act of your will and a decision that you choose to make. It's a choice. I choose. That's all. That's the words that do everything. That's the word that makes the universe reverberate for you. That's the words that monad sees in frequency. And despise these things which exalted, and leave what is behind, what is of the created world, and despise these things with exalted, incomprehensible knowledge, and run to the one who is. That's the journey, folks. And if that's not inside of you, I don't condemn you, I don't judge you. I'm just telling you that if you now, in a beautiful little message, got a simple piece of what the whole thing is all about. Are you willing to leave behind all of the things that you desire and that you crave and that you think are important and that you hold on to like yourself? It was really quite a shock when the first time that I heard someone speak the words, and they said, it is impossible for you to ever find source as long as you continue to hold on to yourself. And I had to ponder that for weeks, man. It messed me up. And now I know that there is no other way. That is the journey. And so the purpose of us remembering is given to you right there. The purpose of all of this is so you can run to he who is. We are to be triumphant over the ignorance of those who contend with us. So when I say to you that Yeshua can go in a bar and he's in a bar fighting a spiritual battle for these people that are around him. He wasn't going there simply to hang out and get drunk and be a part of the world. He was going there to do war. Spirit war, not physical. So, we're to run to the one who is. You can't see him. Most will never hear him, although he's always speaking. So how can you then do that if you have no knowledge of it? Because knowledge is being thrown into the cosmic air by the million ton. You can know. You just have to listen with your heart. We are to be triumphant. So it was never the plan for us. When we were told that we were the head and not the tail, that is the absolute fanatical truth. You are a head and not a tail if you choose to be. But if you do not choose to be a head, I don't care how much of a head you think you are the tail. So it's not a foregone given that you are that. That is also a choice that you choose. We are to be triumphant. There's a picture of what is expected of us over the ignorance of those who contend with us. You're expected to be triumphant over ignorance. Well, if you're still partially functioning in ignorance, how can you overcome ignorance? Most of the time, you won't. But that's the purpose. That's the freedom, is when you begin to see that and you continue to fight, even if you have failures, even if you have loss. This isn't just some supernatural miracle psychic thing and all of a sudden you're this perfected person. And there's a lot of people that are trying to sell that, just like manifestation. Oftentimes when things don't manifest for you, you've done everything that you needed for manifestation. There's a wall that's in front of you, and that wall was put there on purpose. The difference when you encounter that, the difference is then when you never lose trust, you never lose faith, you always have belief, even if the wall is all that you can see in front of you. Source loves me, and my Father is not mad at me, and I am great, 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 great because he's great, 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 and I don't care what kind of wall's in front of me. I have to live that every day. So do you. We have nothing in this world. I'm sorry, I jumped again. We are to be triumphant over the ignorance of those who contend with us. So if you like to walk around willy-nilly and loose-minded, and you just put yourself in all kinds of situations, then it's not surprising that you struggle all the time. The adversaries who contend against us through our knowledge, for we already have known the inscrutable one from whom we have come. Once again, not talking to those that are in the other. This is directly pointed at those people who have recognized and are accepting the responsibility of being light. And it has always been intended for those who are being light, who are awakening and then functioning in and accepting that they are light. It has always been intended for you to be victorious. Always. There's never been a day of failure. My family told me that I was a failure. My church told me that I was a failure. My society told me I was a failure. But the one that did not is Source. So, for we have already known the inscrutable one from whom we've come. So when we have stimuli of this thing that desires to destroy us, then it's up to us to have the strength and the understanding that it's not true. I don't care what it looks like. I heard a guy, Darius Wright, who's really deep, and his word is very contrary to a lot of spirituality, but I assure you what he's saying, I don't know that all of it, but a lot of it is very true. Friends, you don't have to do anything. You just simply have to find out who you were in the first place and then be that. That's how simple it is. You accept it, which is why I said that there's a phase called acceptance. You're not going to hear anybody else use that terminology. That's mine. Why? Because that's how I view that I have to first come to the revelation that I really am. So you first get a thought, and then maybe you get an idea, and then maybe you get some perception, but at some point you just have to accept it. You don't have to do anything else. That is enlightenment. And so we have nothing in this world, or else the world's authority that came to be might hold us back in the worlds of the heavens where death is universal, surrounded by individual. And I suspect there could be many words there. Individual consciousness is one word that I would put there that expresses that thought. Your individual consciousness, in other words, what you perceive the world to be. Doesn't mean it's true, just simply means that's what you see. That's the reality you created. It's not reality. And so we withdraw from the world. There again, we lose a few words, and the powers of the world who oppose us. The archons don't let go of anybody easily. If you're here today, I guarantee you at the base and stem of every person who ever comes by and listens to these truths, at the base of the stem, there is an archon thought that is being injected into your mind. Those are all those thoughts that you so lovingly think that you have, and they were given to you as gifts from the archon. And so, we now have to put to shame in the worlds. We have now been put to shame in the worlds, but we are not interested in them when they speak ill of us. So all the things I said earlier, we not only are they not, if you would, God punishing us or something, we're supposed to recognize them. And then when we recognize them, we're supposed to apply the appropriate behavior towards them. And sometimes it is as kind as saying, sorry, I have to go. I'm not interested in talking to you anymore. We ignore them when they curse us. We stare at them in silence when they treat us shamefully. And the problem is that these beings are not even aware. If you have to explain something to somebody that has to do with their behavior, friend, I promise you they don't get it. Because if they do get it, then they're doing it maliciously. And they're your enemy by far. Or directly to our faces. So it really just covered all of the gamuts, whether they're talking about you behind their back, whether they're standing in front of you, whether they're doing it coercively, whether they're doing blatantly is irrelevant. It's all the same behavior. That's why I said, we all get hung up on, well, if I didn't say something, I didn't sin. Bull. What Yeshua was trying to tell us when he said, if you look at a woman and you lust at her after your mind, ties directly to this very teaching right here. You're already corrupted. Your mind is what corrupts you. Thoughts are very corruptive. And so, we ignore them when they curse us. We stare at them in silence when they treat us shamefully, directly to our face. Why? Because we are starting to learn that our frequency is sacred, and there is no human on this earth that is more important than our frequency. So that is where you get into self-love. Is there a place where self-love and unconditional love kind of seem to bump heads? No, not really. Because the first thing we're told to do is to love ourselves. And we're to learn how to love ourselves unconditionally. And if we do that, then we also have to learn people unconditionally. And it's very difficult. It's a hard journey from where we are. But I promise you it'll be the best one that you'll ever make. Just like learning how to quit judging people. And so they go about their business, and we go about in hunger and thirst, looking to our dwelling place. Here's a piece that's popped up in my mind several times. In the Bible, we were all, Abraham is such to the Jews, but also by virtue, which is really funny because everything that the Jews believe, Christians don't believe, and yet they all believe in the same people. What a joke. Okay, but when the Bible says in the Old Testament of Abraham, he was looking for a city whose builder and maker is God, that's what we're all supposed to be looking for. And that city is inside of us. So, if you want to really understand what Abraham was doing, Abraham was on a journey to find out who he was. Beautiful. I love Abraham. I always did. Because I see how I live and encounter all the things Abraham struggled with. Like how to believe God even when it didn't look like it. How to know that the Father still loves me even when the wall comes down when it seems like it's most necessary. He said quite some things that are quite shocking that have taken me a while to get a hold of, and they're starting little by little to make sense. And so, to go about their business, and we go about in hunger and thirst, looking to our dwelling place, which we perceive through our lifestyle and our conscience. So how conscious you are determines what you see. Abraham was quite conscious. He was looking for a city whose builder and maker was God. He wasn't looking. He had just left the greatest city that was. He was the son of the high priest of the city that just was. He was everywhere, and he left everything and took his little caravan, and he went out into the desert. He lived what I just read to you, and you must too. And so, which we perceive through our lifestyle. So how do we see this? We see it through the way we live, and we see it by how conscious we are. We do not hang on to created things, but we withdraw from them. Our hearts are set on what truly is. And if you understand that you're an avatar and that all of this is just a hologram, what you deem reality is really nothing but a hologram that you created in your mind. And although we are sick, weak, and in pain, there's great strength hidden within us. Why? Because it has nothing to do. Why? Because this body's going to die and it's not going to affect me. Why would Yahusha say that, don't worry about it, man, them hanging me on the cross didn't hurt me a bit. It hurt that body, but it didn't hurt me a bit. What a revelation. I love that statement. I think about it often. I've had people say things, and I've brought them back to a memory of that. Remember, Yahusha, just because his body hurt, he didn't hurt. Well, that is one of the most quintessential essences of Yahusha giving us a teaching truth about what is and what isn't. To you, your body is everything, and to him, your body is nothing. Wow. So, there is great strength hidden within us. The word heals the soul's blindness. The Logos. Our soul is sick because she lives in a house of poverty. You want to know why? So now you get to see a little piece come out here, which is a new piece of teaching, but it's really not new. It's always been played out. It's just really a point in time, a now moment that you get an opportunity to have to focus on it. It's always been, you just never saw it. But think about this. Your soul is sick because it lives in a house of poverty. And I began to ponder that, and I went, my God, you mean that my sickness as the human actually has a negative effect against my soul? My divine light can be affected by my corrupt humanity? That's pretty huge. And so in other words, all of us, our soul is sick because it lives, she lives in a house of poverty. And matter strikes her eyes in order to blind her. When you hear people say in our society that they are a visual person, it is true. For this reason, the soul pursues the word and applies it to her eyes as medicine. So how you heal the external is by healing the internal. And she opens her eyes and she casts off blindness. Well, you're going to find out why blindness is. And the thought of blindness after that. If such a one is ignorance, once again, that one is in complete darkness and is a material being. I'm not going to go over that. You read it, take it for what it is, and whatever it does to you, it does to you. I'm not struggling with that. That is why the soul always takes a word and applies it to her eyes as medicine. In other words, the ability to see, your perception, so that she may be able to see. I've had hundreds of times, maybe there's other people out there in the cosmic realm that have heard the same thing. I've had Source say to me in times, I want you to see, or what do you see? He's not asking, what did I look outside and I saw 5 dogs and a cat? He's asking, what are you seeing inside? It's really a massive revelation. This happens, I won't say weekly, but it certainly happened this past week. I want you to see, son. That's heavy. Very quiet. If your mind is all full of all kinds of things and noise, you'll never hear him. Although he was asking you. And so, his eyes cast off blindness, and the thought of blindness after that. If such a one is in ignorance once again, that one is in complete darkness and is a material being. Do you know when Yahusha said that your eye must be single? That's what he's talking about. You split again. Because you're always divine, you've never not been divine. But when you go following your flesh, your eye's not single. And Yahusha says exactly what this says. Basically, you're doomed. I'm sorrowful that comes off to some, and some, I'm not worried about it, but you might be. So, that is why the soul always takes a word and applies it to her eyes as medicine. There's been millions of words, hundreds of words that I've shared with people that was medicine. They just refused to put it on their eyes. And so that she may be able to see, so that your soul may be able to see. Then her light may overwhelm the foes that oppose her. Once again, back to the whole thing of us being powerful. And that's also something that you have to choose about yourself to accept. I tell myself almost daily, I'm not trying to be powerful. I know I am. Why? Because he said I was, and I believe that. If you don't, so be it. But that doesn't change my view. And so, then her light may overwhelm the foes that oppose her, and she may blind them with her light. So, actually, when Yahusha went in, he went in with the drunkards and the sinners. He went in there to blind them with his light. There's actually an old song from MTV, and he said something along the lines about, what was it? She blinded me with silence. Yeah, that's a spiritual saying, whether you recognize it or not. Those guys were considered fruitcakes, but the words were the essence of spirituality. And so that is why the soul takes a word, applies it to her eyes as medicine. Now I want you to notice something. This wasn't the physical person that did that. Your soul did that. And the sickness we just found out a minute ago comes from yourself. Is what makes your soul in poverty. So you're really destroying yourself at that level, just as you are creating your reality at that moment. And so then her light may overwhelm the foes that oppose her, and she may blind them with her light, our soul. Capture them in her presence, make them collapse in exhaustion, and act boldly with her strength and her scepter. I don't get any picture in that whatsoever of us being some weak things that get destroyed by a will at whatever darkness decides to try to destroy us. But guess what? They also did all of that in kindness, in love, in peace, in patience, non-judgmental. And so the soul then, when we're healed from blindness and we begin to see that we actually have power and that we're supposed to be using it every day, and instead of whining to God about, please fix my problems for me, we're supposed to be the ones taking authority in fixing those problems ourselves. And so while her enemies look at her in shame, and they do, She flees up to her treasure house. Oh, I'm sorry, where her mind is. So you notice everything that has gone on and all that I've shared with you this morning, every bit of it is an internal thing. Most of it tied to either your heart or your mind. And to her storehouse, which is secure, because no one's going to come in and rob me. No one in creation has been able to grasp her, and she has taken no stranger into her house. A stranger being one who isn't part of the collective, if you would. So, those born in her house oppose her day and night. You've heard that before. The enemies of a person are those that are in their own house. That principle never goes away. And they do not rest day or night. For their lust oppresses them. Why don't they rest? Because they're in constant turmoil, constant drama. When you see things and people are always in massive kind of dramas, and I'm not talking about drama happens by nature. Oftentimes, it's other people that are creating that drama, and we, for whatever reason, have ended up in the middle. And there's multiple reasons. I'm quite sure of that. But the question doesn't have anything to that, because the drama falls to you. When you understand what I just shared a second ago, you are expected to overcome every darkness. And it is only when we accept, first off, that all the other pieces, and then we accept the responsibility that this isn't about us doing nothing. And I've heard people say that directly to people on YouTube that have a lot more people that listen to them than me. And it's a bold-faced lie, according to the truth. It doesn't matter how many people you have following you. What matters is the truth that you put out. There it is. It's all about the truth, and it doesn't matter about the material world. So I'm going to stop there, and it looks like there's probably a bit more, although it's totally amazing because it just continues on in this great discourse of authority. And the authority that's being referred here, I'm sure you've quite figured it out. The authority is actually the authority that you are supposed to be walking in. This isn't about some rules. It isn't about following some human construct. This is about what we are already inside and accessing that. Quite strange that a few people only, Greg Braden being one of them, are the only ones. Dr. Lipton is another one. And those are the only two men I've ever heard talk about the biblical principles. Everybody else is talking about woo-woo stuff that comes from the archons in a lot of cases, friends. I don't say all because I listen to channelers all the time, but it's pretty easy, and it's getting easier to know when this archon message is being given across. And so I hope that you will begin to see that for yourself, begin to perceive from your mind and from your spirit. If you do, you'll be blessed. You will be victorious. Doesn't mean you're not going to constantly be going through things. Yeshua never quit going through things, and he was the most. But on the other side, you have to admit that he did quite a good job of showing us what it means to overcome the darkness. And he did that flawlessly. So I hope you guys will have a heart and a desire. I don't talk about the Christian Jesus, but I do talk about the true Yeshua who walked around loving people. I've heard Christian preachers turn Jesus into a multimillionaire. Wouldn't really matter one way or another, but because he still lived out in the desert because they were trying to kill him. So I hope that you will recognize that we may have been, yet again, if you're not careful, you'll end up being misled again into something, and it's going to be what? Exactly what Christianity says. If you just believe in this guy that died for you, you'll be saved and you won't go to hell. The whole thing is a lie. And so I hope that you will look inside of yourself and see the truth that is. We are going to take a few minutes here. We'll be back. Have some amazing songs that I hope will bless you, and then we'll take yet again another look at the little pieces that I throw out every week, to me, they're wonderful. They're very telling with all the words that we get shared. Are you bad? No. Can you make yourself bad? Yes. But you're not inherently bad. And you certainly aren't inherently thrown away. Yet again, a choice that you get to make. So peace to each and every one of you. We'll be back in about 10 minutes. Shalom. Namaste. guess it's kind of a piece of, kind of ties to on some level, anyways, with what we just looked in the ancient text about reality, and you could title that as, or subtitle it as, "Those who choose to take care of business," and the name of the song is "Taking Care of Business." we can allow ourselves to. I hope that you're recognizing that this is a path, and it's infinitely more complex. The thing that means the most isn't something that requires nothing, although it requires nothing. You simply just have to be what you are. I think seems like a lot of it is, to me, the work is to destroy that which isn't me, so that what is me can remain. I think you'll find that lots of people are saying the same message, that I am the one. John told us in the book of John that I must decrease. Paul said, I must die. You can take either one of the two of the major writers of the Bible are telling you the same message, friend. Maybe at some point we'll choose to listen and begin to recognize that what Yeshua meant was true, that we really are light. The problem is we put a bushel over us and we're not letting that light shine, and that bushel is self. And so the next song we're going to do is a song that talks about the way that we have to function. We either serve. We are all supposed to be servants, which is why Yeshua told us that I didn't come to be served. I came to serve, and so it gives a little bit of different context, maybe in past paradigms, but the reality is that we all are required by the universe to be servants, and that there again, that almost through every phase of everything that Yeshua taught, and it's really been quite a piece of my journey to recognize that all the words are the same, but what they mean is so drastically different than what I was told they mean in Christianity. You know, they told you we had foot washing days and the preacher would wash the feet. The principle of that in and of itself is perfect. There's absolutely nothing. But it's so much bigger than that, because it's not just the preacher. He's being the example or the leader. That's everybody's responsibility, is to also be that. And so what Christianity formed is a preacher washes the people's feet and they knew nothing. And that's a screwed up paradigm. So gotta serve somebody. Who, dear one, will you serve?
Somebody
what a wonderful day it is to be alive. You know, it really is foreign and to all that we, as a society, anyways, have been. You know, it's all about being served. It's not about serving. And I used to hear Christian preachers preach the same message, and it was appropriate. It's true. It is right. Yahusha came and showed us the perfect example of how to be a servant, and you know, of course, not many in Christianity were even trying to fulfill that part either. So, but there are good people everywhere, whether they're in religion or whether they're outside of religion. You know, on many levels, there are many good people on this earth that are starting to awaken up, and they're coming from all kinds of backgrounds, be it religious, non-religious. The truth and what the universe is doing right now is certainly is going to continue on, and it's going to be fulfilled, and we're going to get to see some amazing things that we would have never dreamed could have happened in our society, and yet here they are happening. And of course, we've already done that, but now seems like maybe we're going in a different direction, and yet it just almost seems like sometimes there's more chaos. But I think it is true that I read that that's always going to be, as light comes. Please, if you think that darkness is just going to lay down and roll over, it's not going to. It is going to fight tooth and nail to keep its control that it's had. And we have really been dominated by darkness and the control of darkness in our society, and sources bringing an opportunity for humanity to make another decision. So the name of the next song we're going to do for you is a song called Change It. And you know, every one of us, when we grab the reality that just as with Yahusha going into darkness, wherever that may be, wherever the unwanted ones or whatever were, he went in there with the point of bringing victory, and his light blinded the darkness, and quite amazing to think about the fact that we have the power to change it, whatever the it we may be talking about, our lives, society, humanity. We have the power to change all of those things. The song is Change It.
If time is all that we've got, then baby, let's take it. Loving is loving. The moment is right. It's worth all the years of the past. Let's go one more night. Get away from your mindless life. So I want you to be by my side. Me and my mindless thoughts say no more, no more. Get away from your mindless life. So I want you to be by my side. Me and my mindless thoughts say no more, no more. Mindless life. Source, I want you to be by my side. Me and my mindless thoughts say no more, no more. Good night, my darling. our love's gonna last. Come to me, baby. Come to me one more time. Time we got moving. Time to move on. Let's slide out the door. Let's slide out the door. Let's ride our way home. Let's ride our way home. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. Let's go, let's go. I'll come back for more.
Hallelujah! What a wonderful day it is. It is truly. I don't know what the weather is here. It's beautiful and sunshiny, and we've had lots of rain and stuff like that. But it's a wonderful feeling when you can have an amazing day, even when it's dreary and cold outside. But even nicer when you're outside in the sun and the sun's shining on you and you're soaking up all that the universe has created for us. Here's a piece that I heard, and I suspect at many levels there's truths to this, but it was made in a statement, and the person said it like this, that the energy and the heat that we get that comes from the sun is a reflection of all of the light that shines out of us, that the sun is a picture of the light that's in us. And I thought, maybe it's not as literal, and maybe it wasn't meant that way, but you have to admit that's quite beautiful. When the sun, everybody feels better when you're outside and the sun is shining beautiful. It's just something about it that gives you hope. And when the sun is shining out of us, then it's something about it that gives people hope. And whether that be people who are weak and struggling, and they may find hope in your strength, and they may, in many cases, I believe that people believe because they finally see someone else who really believes. And that gives them strength and encouragement. And of course others it'll run off, but that you can't do anything about. But the reality of it is that all of it, as we started out, had to do with the minds. And as I've shown you over and over again, whether it be Trismegistus, it's all mind. Whether it be whoever it is that's saying the words, they're true nonetheless. It is all mind. And this song has to deal with that, about kind of what happens at some levels when your mind is forgotten.
When a hiding your light.
Throw away those blues. Well, people, we gotta, for our minds to see the truth of the Father. When our minds are forgotten, life's not a happy place. We think all past and is our life we must embrace. Throw away those blues. Well, people, we gotta, for our minds to see the truth of the Father. There's a shadow within that doesn't want you to shine.
Doesn't want you to shine.
We all have a struggle for control of our
You
mind.
must control your mind.
Throw away those blues. Well, people, we gotta, for our eyes to see the truth of the Father.
We can't afford to, and even more so, dear friends, this is I hope that I help to bring this across. This is not things the way we've known it in the past. There are so many things in the cosmic realm that are changing. I mean, fast. I really believe that this is the time that Daniel was talking about, although we've been saying that, those in the Christian world anyways, that are hung on prophecy. But Daniel made a statement that there was a time when knowledge was going to increase and everything would speed up. And I heard it put like this, and I have to admit it did grab a hold of my attention. The quantity of information that we are receiving now is so much. That's why the time is starting to seem as if it's going, because before it would take us 24 hours to process a set of information, and now we're being asked to do 4 times that amount in the 24 hours. And so I don't necessarily know cosmically whether that's true, but I do have to admit, along with a lot of other people I've talked to, that it certainly seems like, man, days go by faster and weeks go by faster. You wake up and before you know it, it's bedtime again. I don't know, if it's literal or not. Many say that it actually is, but actually, I believe Dolores Cannon said that the days are actually only 16 hours long. I don't know how all that works, and I'm not interested in getting in the middle of it. All I know is that I live my life from Saturday to Wednesday to Saturday, and those seem like it takes about 2 days to do that. So you take that for where it's at. But the song we're going to do is called Just Where I Would Go. And so I love the first line. It said, went outside today, and you can take that metaphorically, literally, or both, and it's still appropriate. We have to go outside of the cave, and we have to see the world that's around us. Where would I go?
Went outside today, gonna buy the things for my life. Went outside today, get up all the things for my life. But without them I know, oh, where would I go? All my eyes they could not see, 'cause I was lied to for so long. All my eyes they were closed, all the lies I was sold. Oh, but now it's plain to see, well, I have everything in me. So we better get in line, not to the left or the right, 'cause we're running out of time. In a path will bring you life. All this word from me, and I don't take it lightly. We can meditate every day, solely focus on what's within. Shadow work is what we need for the journey to begin. But there's one thing we must see, all of this will set us free. We're outside today, the Father thanks for my life. We're outside today, Mother Earth, thank you for my life. 'Cause without them I know where
get those opportunities every day to live a high life, and it is beautiful, and I hope that you guys are experiencing all that Source has for us. There is so much changing, and yet at the same time, the changes can, in the midst of your worst adversities, are the greatest blessings that ever happened. So we'll be back in just a few minutes. Well, we truly are blessed, and we're blessed whether we realize it or not. The beauty is when we begin to realize that we're blessed, and I hope all of us will come to that place. All that will, but I would hope that's all of us. So, anyways, really powerful words today. There's so much hidden wisdom that we have been truly, you know, I have to be very careful when I look back, because I still find myself fighting the emotions sometimes of anger and frustration, and of course they're just frequencies. And then you have, I think I've shared with you guys how you deal with emotions as frequency, and it's been very enlightening. I find that I struggle with things a lot less and for a lot less length of time. Certainly, it doesn't mean that we're not going to struggle. It just means that now we can control how we struggle. Anger in and of itself is not a bad thing, and it's bad when we allow it to affect us and affect our frequency. And so, what a wonderful blessing it is that we get an opportunity to even be in a place to learn this stuff that will improve our life and help us live a more peaceful life. And so I would just encourage anyone, wherever you're at today, if you're experiencing changes, wonderful, don't stop, just keep going, because we have an infinitely further, everything is potential, and I don't know, I heard it said recently that we're in very quickly coming into a process whereby, because manifestation is changing, and that's a pretty heavy statement when you begin to really look at it. But apparently there have been, I don't want to say hinderers because they were put there intentionally, but there have been things that were put in place in the cosmos that I guess keep us from manifesting. Or maybe it's really that we just have put so much disbelief in ourselves that it's hard for us to walk in true purity. And if that's the case, then that's not a slam or a condemn against anybody. This simply means that, as I said earlier today, we just have to keep going, man. There's, everything is full potential. Every option that has ever existed is available to us all the time. But how do you move into that? And those things have to be learned through experience. And so we're in school. We're learning how to function in ways that we were never taught. And so there's bound to be some glitches here and there. Not that the universe has, that we have in the universe. And so I hope you guys won't beat up on yourself if if you're struggling and it seems like the harder you try, the worse things get. Don't give up. You're not failing. Inevitably, wherever we are in the moment that we are, that's where we are, because that's where we needed to be. And that's a really kind of a hard thing when you begin to understand that even though we're not aware of it, we have potential to be in other places instead of where we are. And so in that concept, wherever you are is where you chose to be. And often we really do desire knowledge. We desire to be in a place where we can put ourselves in a situation where we can learn something. Maybe we've struggled with it in the past and we didn't overcome it, or maybe we did overcome it and we want to prove that. So, when you come to those places with what you truly believe inside of you, I see a little different picture of faith without works is dead being alone. If you truly believe that something is, you'll begin to do the work that goes with whatever it is that you believe. And since all of those guys I know now were mystics, I know that James wasn't teaching what Christianity said that he was teaching. And so it has always been about manifestation. It appears that there is a change shifting in the cosmos, and that we can look forward to the future. Even though it's going on now, it will be at higher intensity levels. The ability to be able to create, maybe with our consciousness tied in a different way to self, when we make the outside like the inside, then when we then choose to manifest something, simply having a thought, we will already be in alignment, in coherence with ourself and with Source. And that's when you begin to see the things like Yeshua did. He said it to us. He said, there was no deviation between me and my Father. My Father believes me, I believe him. There is no uncoherence in us. And so it's not said that way in Christianity, but the truth of it is that's really what was being said. So when we become coherent, when we are in alignment, when what's inside of us is pure and true and aligned with what Source has, then they say that it's quite easily to manifest your thoughts at will. And so I have hope and encouragement in that. That we not only get to experience that, we get to experience it at full level. There's millions of people out there that need help, that need their bodies healed and their minds healed and their hearts healed, and those are the kind of servant chores that I think Source wants us to focus on, not how can we serve ourselves. So I hope you guys will grab a hold of that. Self-serving will always destroy you. Serving others will always build you up, and that certainly wasn't preached in Christianity the way that it should have been. So anyways, we're looking at the 20th morning, 20 weeks, 20 plus weeks we've been doing these, and I haven't had him not throw out a relevant affirmation, confirmation, words of wisdom, and so we'll see if he fails today. Sympathy given can never be wasted. You know, we live in a society where hardness is taught, it's honored, it's revered, and quite honestly, the mass majority of the people seldom experience sympathy for other people, for other people's plights. And I think that I already see changes in that happening, a softening maybe, if I can, and it really is both male and female. I've seen more of it from males, but that's usually because males were harder, and women tend to have a little bit more of a nurturing spirit than, at least most women. There's plenty of mean women, but most women tend to have a little more nurturing. But even in them, I'm watching a shift, and so I think we should be very open in that. Instead of being judgmental towards somebody, why don't you share sympathy with them? Understand that their hurts or pains or sufferings or struggles are real, and that you have them as well, and treat them the way that you wish people would treat you, even if people don't treat you that way. Because sometimes that is the thing, and then of course what happens is people go, well, ain't nobody ever treated me like that. I could say that about a million things, and I have, and it is truth, but it doesn't do anything to benefit you. It doesn't matter whether they did or didn't. That curse and burden is on them, not on you. You can't necessarily change how other people treat or behave, but you can change how you treat and behave. And so sympathy given is never wasted. One aspect of sympathy is that of pity, and I can't tell you growing up how many times I was told that your problem isn't that big and it doesn't matter to me, and just the whole concept of just simply the kindness of caring about somebody's plight. There's a statement that you may have heard often. If you haven't, you will if you continue in this walk. And that is that the universe sees, acknowledges, and notes every act of kindness that a human does to another human. And I'll even go further, and I know that I'm right. That really should not be limited to just the kindness we do to humans. The kindness we do to the universe, it would be a much more appropriate way to do that, which includes humans. But you know, when you do an act of kindness, if you see something wrong and you stop what you're doing and you go help an animal, that kindness is noted by the monad. And so it's really funny how many opportunities, and I'm afraid when we go to the Akashic Record, we will see those in the event that you are one that do a past life, a picture of your past life. I'm starting to hear a little bit now of people that access the Akash that are actually being able to look at their future. And I don't say that I don't believe that's possible. Edgar Casey certainly did it. But I do think there's been a lot of truth that's come out about the Akashic Record and the Archons and I actually, as I said earlier, I hear quite a bit of archonic speak coming out of channelers, so I know that they're talking to archons, or archons are their spirit guide that are giving them this information, and so you have to be open, and yet you have to protect yourself. And so one aspect of sympathy is that of pity for the distressed or pain-stricken, with a desire to alleviate or help them in their sufferings. What an amazing concept that somebody else's pain. Now, there's a piece of this that goes with empathy, and if you are an empath, and I am, so I know what I'm talking about firsthand. The worst thing about a person who may have an empathic note is that you tend to be one who carries other people's burdens even when they are unconscious and won't carry them themselves. And so you see someone in pain and all they recognize is that they have pain, but they really don't understand past the pain. And an empath often will look into someone's soul and see that and understand why. You can't always help someone, but you have to be really careful. I experienced this a lot at the church of being very high vibration, and by the end of one service day, go home and it take me 3 days to recover. So if you do have an empathic nature, and there are many people, you feel more than everybody else. That's why you always feel weird, because you recognize stuff, and mindless people that have no empathy tell you you're wrong. Don't listen to it. You trust your instincts, and but if you're one of those, it's very important, because we do need to feel sympathy and we do need to feel pity, but we also have to protect ourselves, because someone else's pain can drain you just as much as your pain can drain you. And so it is very important, because there are empaths everywhere. So one is pity for the distressed or pain-stricken, with a desire to alleviate or help them in their sufferings. And so back to what I said, if you are empathic, you want to help them, and in many cases you will come into a situation where you will realize that these people don't even care to help themselves. And so then you want to do the mother or daddy thing, and you want to try to fix everybody's problems, and it just wears you out. You have to set boundaries. They're finding that a lot with psychic children, where they're constantly bombarded by dead spirits, or alive spirits that are not in the body, and it wears them out. It drains them out, and they have to learn how to set boundaries with spirits. And you can do so. You can tell them, I'm not available today. I'm not in a place where I can deal with your issues. And so if you're one that functions a little more in the psychic realm, and if you're not, you should be. We all should be at a higher level than what we are, and yet where we are is where we are, because that's where we are. And those people that recognize they have a really strong gift of intuition, they get words, whether it be clairvoyant, or any of the other clairs. There's like 5 clairs total. And so if you are a person, maybe you're not even completely aware that you function in that realm, but you know things, or you hear things, and then there's those that know things, hear things, and see things. And if you're in that situation, you will constantly have to set boundaries to protect yourself from, not from you, from other people. So the world needs more of this divine quality. Dear friend, Source is always helping people. He has rules. The universe has rules by which it helps people. Why don't people manifest? They don't manifest because they're not playing by the rules that the universe set out. And we have a reason. We were never taught the rules. But if we're hungry for truth, then it's our responsibility to learn the rules and how to do these things, how to fulfill what Yeshua said. That's my journey. One of them is to figure out how to do what Yeshua said when he said that these things and greater that I do will you do. I believe that emphatically, and I believe I'm going to get to see that. But to do so, you must learn that inside. And so, for pity makes the world soft to the weak and noble for the strong. It's a positive vibration. When you have sympathy and when you have pity for other people's plights, you raise your own frequency. In fact, I would go as far as to say is no matter how much you bless someone else, the person that gets the greatest blessing is the person that showed the kindness. And so, it's real funny in that way. The universe repays you immediately. Maybe it's just the fact that you got a warm, fuzzy feeling in your heart and you had a smile on your face, and before you met this person, you might have been struggling or frustrated or angry or something, and all of a sudden that stuff just washes away because it's just frequency. Emotion is nothing but frequency. We can choose to protect our frequency and not hold on to negative frequencies, or we hold on to them and they cause dissonance in our systems. So, for pity makes the world soft to the weak. I know everybody's trying to be strong, right? And noble for the strong. Another form of sympathy is that of rejoicing with others who are more successful than ourselves, as though their success were our own. And in a society that's full of pride and self-centeredness, that's very uncommon. Unless you get something out of it, nobody goes and rallies and cheers. They don't have parades down the street for the team that loses the Super Bowl. There's no empathy for them. They lost, they're losers. We want to be over here happy with the guys who won. And so that is not really an important. Well, it is. It's tied to humans, and everything that's tied to humans is important. But maybe if we had those outworkings in different situations, there would be a little more validity. So, anyways, the 20th evening, he says this: sweet are companionships, pleasures, and material comforts. And we heard a lot about material things today. A lot of people don't like that. They're materialistic, and that is their only view of the world, is what they possess, own, get, yada, yada, yada. And so there's nothing that says that it's not nice to get a new car, or nothing that says it's not nice to be able to do whatever you want to. And as long as those things don't have you, there's no problem. The problem is that most people are possessed by those things. And so the concept there is that of balance. It's okay to have something as long as that thing doesn't have you, but when it becomes an excessive obsession for you, then you are under its control. And so, but they change and they fade away. They all do. New cars get old, houses fall down, money gets spent. It's all fleeting. It's all going away always. From the time you receive it, from that moment forward, whatever it is that you're fighting for is in a mist of vanishing. And so, but they change and they fade away. And in fact, they do. Sweeter still are purity, wisdom, and the knowledge of the truth. And if you would make those things the priority to get, you probably would actually get a lot more material things, but you would be balanced in the right, proper way. And these never change, nor do they fade away. The man who possesses the truth possesses everything anyways. And so he who attained to the possession of spiritual things can never be deprived of his source of happiness. And that's, it doesn't matter. The inner peace that Yeshua exhibited to us, it didn't matter whether Pilate was trying to find out and ask him questions. I used to marvel every time when I would read Yeshua's behaviors, and I would see that he would say really hard things, and yet it wasn't that the things he said weren't hard. They didn't, whatever he needed to answer that question didn't matter to him. It just had no power. It had no authority. And of course we understand why now, because he stayed in a perpetual state of peace. I think there's a lot of people that have a lot of false conceptions about how this stuff really works. Being spiritual does not mean that you don't have or have to deal with your emotions. And I love to use Yeshua, just like in the temple. I had several people that had never thought about the fact that maybe the real truth about the temple thing was that Yeshua was angered because these people were worshiping the false god Yahweh. Understand, what you don't know, they knew. So mysticism prior to Christianity was the norm. Gnosticism was, prior to Christianity, the norm. So when he went in that temple, those people had been brainwashed by Judaism, but Gnosticism was all around their society. And that's, I think we would probably find, if we could actually read the truth of the New Testament, the early New Testament, that all of that against Yeshua didn't have anything to do with anything else other than he was destroying their God, and he was putting a new God in place. And really it was the ancient God that he was exposing to us, because we had lost contact with the monad. And so wisdom and the knowledge of truth, these never change nor fade away. If you have truth, friends, you don't have to be ashamed of it. When people attack you because you know what they don't know, you don't have to be ashamed of it. How you handle it is to whether you get angry or whether you control yourself, whether you're an observer and you don't react, which is a powerful thing to have. It's been quite amazing how it seems to break up bad situations that at least for me, that in the past would have escalated, because I would have approached them completely different, and instead you just look at somebody, smile, and go, no, I'm not playing your game. And it'll empower you in ways that you absolutely, I'm telling you folks, I don't care who hears this, but this is truth, and it does work. And if you'll put it into your life, you'll begin to see it work almost immediately. And so he who attained to the possession of spiritual things can never be deprived of his source of happiness, because they're never going to go away. The only thing that exists is the truth of the universe. That's the only thing that is constantly changing and yet never goes away. And so he will never have to part company with it, and wherever he goes in the whole universe, he will carry his possessions with him. His spiritual end will be the fullness of joy. And of course we know when we go back through the monad into the oneness, that it's nothing but pure love and pure light. And so I don't know if you like the sound of pure love and pure light, but if you do, we are on the path. The journey is to return, as you saw. The contest for humans is, can you awaken? Can you then make the changes that are necessary to come back up here and join back in with the collective consciousness? And there's many that are. There's many that will. I don't think it's a failing story. I think that the ones, and they are there and they are real, that may not have a soul, and there are those who are not going to enlighten no matter what source does. And as I've told some of you, they already, the planet that those people are going to be moved to is already in existence. And it's just a matter of waiting for us to get through this tunnel time change that we're going through right now. And as consciousness evolves, the separation will become bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And there'll be a point where consciousness will no longer accept low frequency. Right now, it kind of has to intermingle, but there is a time coming very soon, actually, when consciousness is not going to allow low consciousness even in its presence, because their frequency is that sacred, and anything that diminishes your frequency should turn on a blue light for you that you need to be cautious. The thing that's going on there is prophesied, and that's going to be a time split that apparently isn't ever done away with. I suspect that the universe will then start a whole new process with those low frequency people in maybe another 10,000 or 40 million years, but when time isn't important, it doesn't matter. But for those who will raise their vibration, their base vibration will function in the 5D realm, those people will eventually be completely separated from the lower dimensions, the 3D frequencies. So I hope you guys will be careful and be careful about how you, with other people, but also be equally careful about the people that you let into your life, and maybe you can be the light to them, and it might be the thing that turns them on. I don't think that oftentimes maybe we look at it like that I am a vehicle of change on this earth, and that the power that lives in me is the power that created everything that is. And wow, it's really, really easy to say that, but it has to come to you in revelation for it to mean something. And so I hope you guys will take some of this stuff and ponder it, reflect on it. Maybe you'll actually have some incidences where something pops up and you use it, and it works, because if you do, it will. And so shalom to each and every one of you. Peace to you. I hope that you're having an amazing life, and I hope that you're seeing your life in front of you be transformed by the simple changes of who you are. Namaste.